to Discograffiti, the deep dive podcast for music obsessives that gives freaks like you and me the chance to connect with a brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebroe, and with 3 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on Spirit! Psst, along with our special guest, band biographer Ryan Gabrinetti. This is part 4, which covers the period that kicks off the most interesting era of the band as far as Discograffiti sees it. Here are just a few of the many things that Ryan discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. The chaotic events that led to the band's breakup, the formation of Spirit's side act Jo Jo Gunne, which eventually seceded from Spirit and enjoyed success of their own, a brief rundown of the Jo Jo Gunne discography, the one-off iteration of Spirit without Randy California in it, which thankfully produced only a single record whose closest comparison point is the Velvet Underground's hated record Squeeze, the manically inspired beginning of Randy California's solo career and the underrated masterwork that came out of it, and an in-depth deep dive on every song off Spirit's Feedback and Randy California's Captain KOPTER and the Fabulous Twirlybirds. And away we go then! Jay Ferguson says, quote, Lou Adler had been the rallying point. He'd settled the arguments, and suddenly in 1970, he was gone. We were by ourselves, and everything kind of came out. Randy wanted things his way, and I wanted things my way. And so these guys couldn't function without Lou calming them down.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Brian Epstein. It's like once you have that central focus point gone, it just becomes hard to sustain. So like, So
Jo Jo Gunne, well, I mean, their last gig as Spirit, it was almost a fist fight, right? It almost they played a stand at the Fillmore West in San Francisco, and then they did a weekend after that at the Fillmore East. And I guess like in those last couple shows, they started to get really agitated with each other, and there was some sort of confrontation. By the way, this is January 30th, 1971.
1971, yeah. And again, if you look at the calendar, this is like weeks after Sardonicus came out. And so like they came back from that, and then in March of 71, the Rolling Stone review came out. And so they probably didn't have anything on the schedule yet. Or maybe, okay. Yeah, and so I think it was kind of then that they jumped ship. So like you look at the timeline, right? So Jay and Mark started rehearsing as Jo Jo Gunne around the time that Randy was recovering from the horse accident. I think that like there was I think they pretty consciously were like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Like we might as well.
In case you don't know Jo Jo Gunne, which by the way, I had never heard Jo Jo Gunne except for Run Run Run. Jo Jo Gunne is very much a straight ahead good time rock and roll band. And, honestly, it's a concept without a very long shelf life. It seems like it was...
They were trying to play radio rock in 1971. That's
It was inevitable that the music would be far less multifaceted than Spirit, and Run 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 put the new band in the top 10 in the UK, I think, right?
I mean, that hit, it was definitely another FM thing for sure. But
I mean, that was a quick thing. It was
pretty quick. It was probably similar.
In as many years, and Jo Jo Gunne was done, and we'll cover them in just a little bit. But Mark Andes joined Country Rockers, Firefall, and by the way, Country Rockers, there's 2 quotation marks bracketing that because it was really kind of a light FM kind of a deal. They're like a 10th generation Xerox copy of the Eagles.
You Are the Woman.
And Eagles are a 10th generation Xerox copy of Graham Parsons. And then Andy's, later hit Pay Dirt with Heart. And Jay Ferguson enjoyed brief fame as a solo star. And I have not heard any of his solo stuff. Thunder Island. Is that good?
Thunder Island.
I've never heard it.
I think it's a great song. He had some good pop nuggets for sure.
When Jay announced his departure, he recalled that Randy said, well, that's the end of Spirit. And Jay says, unfortunately, that wasn't the end of Spirit. I can't blame them for continuing. And so even though Randy was hospitalized when he split his skull, Cassidy and John Locke wanted to get something together. And so in Randy's absence, they recruited John Arliss as a bass player. And when Randy California came back as a 4-piece, they played in early 71, right? right? Except Randy was still not really fully recovered.
I do want to correct you on one thing.
Please.
John Arliss was the original replacement bassist, and that went on for a little bit. And then one of the Staley brothers, I forget which, if it was Al or the other one.
It's Al.
Al became the bassist, and then Randy at a certain point decided that he wanted to leave the band. So then the other Staley brother was brought in to replace him.
Al came on, then Randy.
Later.
Okay.
Yeah. So like there was one Staley, and then Randy left, and then the other Staley came on.
The Link was a Texan band called Pumpkin, in which Al Staley had played alongside Curly Smith, who became Jo Jo Gunne's drummer. The trio of Al, John Locke, and Ed Cassidy toured briefly before deciding that they had to add a guitarist to do the music justice. But so correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, they tried to do a keyboard bass thing.
Keyboard, bass, and
which
drums.
Sounds
it would have been really insane.
That sounds insane.
To try to do all of that. I mean, it probably sounded really interesting.
The three guys had started cutting an album together in the autumn of 71, but the obvious limitations of a keyboard, bass, and drums lineup led to the recruitment of Al's guitarist brother Christian, who had split from the Texas rock band Crackerjack with a K, that is a beginning and end K, and he was brought in to overdub the music that they'd already made. So, in case you're just a dude on the street in 1972 who does not have any access to internet, which of course you do not, you're thinking Texas accent, uncomplicated guitar playing, female background singers. What the fuck is going on here? So it's inevitable that with the simplification that a single genre, which was blues rock, would dominate whatever they became. So the Staley brothers were young. Christian was still in his teens. He was not Randy California, but yet at the same time, John Locke was determined to emphasize the link with the band's past with a couple of instrumentals that could be described as jazz fusion to keep that thing going, which, by the way, wasn't even on Sardonicus. That was like their distant past. And so the already twisted story of Spirit took yet another turn after Ed Cassidy jumped ship to reunite with Randy. This left Spirit with just one original member, John Locke. So undaunted and probably reassured by CBS's corporate clout, the band recruited Cozy Powell to fill the drum stool, but then he left a month later, followed shortly by John Locke, and now Spirit was over. And now we're at Phase 2, knocked off a horse by the thrashing winds of a creative storm, 1971 to 1981. And here's the point in the band's chronology that I am unbelievably excited to discuss all this stuff. Dude. Because to me, this is where things get super interesting. All right, that concludes your free sneak peek into today's bonus episode. If you want to hear the rest of it, just visit patreon.com/discograffiti and either purchase this podcast by itself for $4, or better yet, subscribe at the major tier and get access to Discograffiti's 3 weekly episodes. That's Friday's main episode, the Sunday Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. That's our podcast within a podcast featuring Patreon members as guests, and your Tuesday bonus episode. Please keep in mind this is entirely how I support my wife and 7-year-old son, so don't risk feeling badly about yourself by not supporting Discograffiti. Become a member so you don't miss a single thing at patreon.com/discograffiti.